Welcome back to I Shine Connect.
Our first night of hope was in 2004, and it was in Atlanta, Georgia, and I didn't know if anybody was going to show up. We knew people watched us on television, but we didn't know what size of building to rent, so we rented the basketball arena, and we thought, well, we can always turn the lights out up top if nobody shows up. But when we got there that morning at 8 o'clock, there were people lined up around the building to get into the event for the 7 o'clock service, and we just realized that, you know what, people are hungry for hope. That led to the next event, and then Madison Square Garden said you can't come and do a free event anymore. You have to have a ticketed event. But you know what? God's taken us where we've never dreamed, and that's part of our message to each one of you, that you don't know where God's going to take you. You keep being faithful right where you are, being your best, doing the right thing when the wrong thing is happening. You don't know the doors God's going to open. Never dreamed I'd be a minister, never dreamed we'd have church in the former Compact Center, but look what God has done. I know you've seen him show out in your lives as well, but I believe the best is still in front of you. That he's got great things for you and your children, that you're going to leave a legacy of hope. You're going to leave your family better than you were before. When you know your God and what he's done, that he's already defeated.
We want to ultimately invite you, okay? So if you're watching here today on Friday, August 5th, we're actually here. The event is tomorrow. It will air on TBN on Sunday, but we want you here. If you're in driving distance, come here.
Flying distance.
Joel, the same kind of thing that these big events are remind Lori and I of kind of a big piece of our life. We were making films. They were big events, let's say.
Yeah.
And then we were putting them into a neutral auditorium. This is a neutral auditorium. It's not a church. It's not churchy, and this is usually like we would think about, in the theaters. Somebody might come to a movie with you to a theater. Somebody might come with you to a big event like this at Yankee Stadium that wouldn't really ever go or weren't be, let's say, not far along in their journey enough to go and darken the door of a church.
Yeah.
Okay. So we love the idea that you do this. That's why we're always here tagging along and making sure everyone knows in our audience about what's happening here. Again, tomorrow, right here at Yankee Stadium. We'll see you here. If you're able to get here, Ticketmaster is how you can get tickets. And look, we'll see you here tomorrow. So, in regard to the history of all of this, this is really a journey for you in an area of influence. We've talked about that before.
Yeah.
But to get the invitations over all those years to come and be a part is really a very special thing.
It really is, man. It's part of that. Part of our message is you don't know where God's going to take you. I mean, can you believe we're all sitting here together and what God's doing through TBN and you guys, and started back with our parents. But it's a great day to be alive. And I love what you were saying, because when we study the life of Jesus, he didn't spend all of his time in the synagogue or in the temple. He went along the marketplace and walking through the cities. He was doing miracles. To me, he was out with the people. I mean, I love church, and we have a great church, but I do think getting out among the people into some of these neutral auditoriums like you do with your films, or you did a lot before, but I think that's how, I think the people in the church, we've heard the gospel a lot, and it's good to grow and be fed and be in a community. That's great. My goal's always been to get outside the four walls, and that's to me what this represents, and just grateful and humble that we could be here again.
Your influence wasn't able to keep the airline traffic down. So work on that for the next time we're here in 2025.
No.
Why don't you take us back to the very beginnings of, what kind of brought us here. This is a pretty historic place to be. These rings that represent, kind of the lore of what Major League Baseball is all about, and Steinbrenner. How did this all start? How did we get here?
Yeah, it's amazing, man. 2008, we received a call from somebody that worked at the Yankees, and they said they're building a new stadium. They're going to be opening up in 2009, and they asked if we would come and be the first non-baseball event in the new stadium. And of course, my first thing is it's a prank call from Matt Crouch or somebody. But you know, I thought, you know, that's crazy. And so, you know, we obviously verified it, and you know what? Never dreamed where God will take it.
You are more than conquerors. You are strong in the Lord. You don't know the great things God has in store for each one of you.
I thought, are they going to listen to a preacher from Texas up there at Yankee Stadium? So I didn't know. So we flew up here and met with the people, and they toured me around the old stadium before they tore it down. And when I stood there where Babe Ruth stood at home plate, and you know, they weren't playing there then, they were building this one, but I thought, wow, this is a God opportunity. You know, it changed my mindset when I got here to think, you know, why am I even thinking about this? And so we said yes, and TBN was right there with us, and we came in 2009, and the place was sold out. We came back in 2014, and now here we are again. So it was just part of that message of who knows where God will take you. Who knows what kind of phone call you may get tomorrow, what kind of door might open. And never dreamed we'd be staying here, looking at all the memorabilia in George Steinbrenner's, you know, boardroom. It's an amazing day.
You realize 2009, then to 14, and now to 2022, some people could argue, Joel, that we're living on a different planet than we were in 2009 and even 2014. And I feel like your message of hope, as we stand here today, a lot of the press doesn't get, you know, too excited about, or, you know, even know about. And that's an interesting thing about this organization and Mr. Steinbrenner. So the message of hope, when you think of how important it's always been, and post-pandemic and all of that, and so much more, it feels like we're in a crisis situation, and the message of hope is really the answer.
It really does, man. It feels like never before in a day in our lifetime have we felt it like this, or at least I don't think we have. Just that, you know, that pandemic pushed people down and put their dreams on hold, and, you know, people lost loved ones and all that. So it just felt right when they called us to come back, and we said yes. And it's all about, you know, I believe it's time to dream again, to believe again, to love again, to laugh again. And I think we can get stuck in that mode of just, you know what, life's tough and this is bad and it's never going to change. But I think we have to get back to living, get back to our faith, and just believing again, because this is not a surprise to God. As hard as the pandemic was, God's still in control. So I believe more than ever the world needs hope. And, you know, that's what's been in me and TBN as well, to take the message of hope and faith and victory in Jesus around the world. So what an exciting time that we could partner with the New York Yankees.
You were showing me one of the quotes from George, and so this kind of is a meaningful moment here. Helping others gives me meaning in life. So you knew, you can verify this.
I do.
Okay, so you have firsthand experience. You know that this is true.
I know. You know, man, I met a young man. He was 16 years old at the time. I met him back in 2008 or 2009. But he told me he used to, you know, be around here spraying graffiti on the walls, and Steinbrenner didn't like it. Well, long story short, Mr. Steinbrenner, instead of sending him to jail, he took him in and mentored him.
Wow.
And he still works for, Mr. Steinbrenner obviously has passed, but he still works for the organization. But he told me, this gentleman that was very close with him, that Mr. Steinbrenner at night, a lot of times after the games, or especially when he wasn't feeling good, when he was down, when he was discouraged.
If they lost.
Yeah, probably so. He would drive through the neighborhoods here in his limousine, and he'd give out $100 bills. And he said that was his favorite thing to do. He said we just go through neighborhood, street after street, just giving that away. Everybody knew him, but he didn't want anybody to know about it. He's very quiet about how generous and caring of the community. I love that quote because that gentleman quoted me that works here. If you do something good for somebody and more than 2 people know about it, then you didn't do it for the right reason. It's kind of like the scripture says, what you give in secret, God will reward you. So they were a giving family. I remember Mr. Steinbrenner. I never met him personally. I've met his children, but you saw him, he's big and strong, and he got a win and all this stuff. But there was another side behind him that loved to help people and help the community.
My goodness. Okay, Yankee Stadium, we're here. Let's go talk about hope.
Yeah,
let's do it.
Awesome.
Sure thing. Let's do it.
Let's go.
Here we go. Come on, production guys. Let's take a look at the stadium because, Joel, I don't know about you, but when I come to something as amazing as Yankee Stadium, I think we need to show it off a little bit.
No.
What is it like to look up and see that level of influence that you're talking about?
You know what? It's amazing. It's thanks be to God who knows where He's going to take you. So I don't know. What an opportunity to be here in this one of the most iconic stadiums in the world, and them to open it up and let us do what we're doing today, and bring people in. It's just it's a neat thing, and it's a great day that we're living in. And I think some people talk about, well, look how bad everything's going. I think in some areas, certainly things have gone down, but in other areas, people are hungry for faith. And I think about the scripture, how it says, the darker it gets in the world, the brighter the church is going to shine, the brighter we're going to shine. And so I think that's what, I feel like we're called to do is let's be bright. Let's bring hope. Let's bring the message of God's love and forgiveness. And He's got a purpose for every person's life, and you can start over. And I think to me that's what the world needs to hear. And a lot of people, Matt, you know this, but half the people that come to the stadium that night will have never been to church in their life. They there's that guy on TV. Let's go hear him. I like that. He makes sense to me. But you know what? Seeds are being planted in their heart. Over 500 churches are cooperating with us and bringing people. So we've never seen this kind of collaboration, and people are not back in church yet, even the members, because of the pandemic. So this is a way, to me, it's, hey, let's get back in church. It's called come home to hope, come home to God, come home to faith, come home to church, come back to believing again. And so that's what I believe the reason God opened the door at this historic time, right out of the pandemic. Again, them calling us, we didn't even call them. I wasn't looking. I was kind of like, hey, yeah, the pandemic, I don't know if people will be coming back, but God just opened this door, and so we're going to walk through it.
I have the biggest, dumbest grin on my face because, while you're sitting there talking and just doing your normal thing, the problem is we're in Yankee Stadium, and I'm looking at, in essence, some of the world's influence is being handed over to us to utilize for the sake of the gospel. This is a partnership that we're doing, and this stadium and what it represents and the collective group of people that are going to be here. Just hearing you talk with what I'm seeing in the background makes me smile. I mean, I'm just happy that we're here talking about it. And the other thing that's making me grin is we're doing this completely impromptu, you know? And so we got all of our crew guys working, but
they're walking backwards also.
Everything we're doing forward, they're doing backwards.
Yeah.
And the only thing that would have made this day better is if you and I were down there taking some swings.
Oh, no.
That would have been fun.
We'll be right back after this short break.
An important lesson I learned is to never give up.
Major League Baseball and the Boys and Girls Clubs of America teach kids the importance of never giving up.
Home run, Big Papi strikes again!
Big kid, big effort, big smile. I guess that's why they call me Big Papi.
Major League Baseball is a proud sponsor of the Boys and Girls Clubs of America. Together, they create a positive place for kids.
A message from Major League Baseball.